Hello students, and welcome to Bio 100. I'm really excited that you're in my class. The purpose of this video is less for introductions, we'll do that in class, but more for I want to go through all the nitty-gritty of the course. This is the boring part and I don't want to spend class time doing this. So I'll try to be as fast as possible. You're only going to see my face right here, and then I'm going to go ahead and spice it together with just showing you this stuff. So we'll see you in class, but watch the rest of this video. Okay, first things first, I'd like you to explore. If you just have a minute, this will only take a minute. What I'd like you to do is go get a mirror, or it can be like from a compact or whatever, and I want you to, while only looking in the mirror, so you cannot look down, it helps to sort of put it up by your forehead, only looking in the mirror, I want you to draw the shapes you see on the screen and write your name, and this is important, so that it appears correctly in the mirror. Okay, so I want you to just pause for just a second and try to do that right now. Okay, so hopefully you had a chance to do that, and hopefully you saw that it was really hard. Now maybe some of you are really great, and that means you're going to make an awesome dentist or something. But for most of us, this is a really hard task, and I want you to think about why. Why is this so difficult to do? And I wish I could hear your responses, but you're probably thinking, well, you know, I've got muscle memory. I've always learned it the other way, and in the mirror it was sort of backwards. And so it made it really hard. Did you ever find yourself sort of frustrated, wanting to like yell at your hand? What's wrong with you? Why can't you do this? It's really hard for your brain to relearn something that you've learned a different way before. So my question is, had I shown you a PowerPoint ahead of time that said this, that vertical positions are opposite, so moving the pencil up and down is opposite, however horizontal positions are consistent, so moving the pencil right and left, so to write your name, it's going to be vertically inverted, but the letters will be in the same order. Do you think that would have helped you do it? I mean, if you don't believe me, you could pause right here and try it. I'll bet you it doesn't help. I'll bet you still that the first move you make will be wrong. And so it makes me wonder, is PowerPoint even effective? Well, it can be if it's used correctly. But the point is, you're not a blank slate. You're not an empty bucket into which I can pour information. You have to be able to learn through experience. And this is a little bit technical, don't memorize this or anything, but this is called Equilibration Theory, and it's a learning theory. And there's two parts to it. There's assimilation, which is just incorporating new information that you've never seen before. So when you first learn to write, it's hard, but it's not as hard as accommodation. Accommodation is when you already have something in your brain and you have to replace it with something new. And this requires cognitive conflict. You have to see that, oh gosh, what I was thinking or what I was doing is not quite right, and I'm going to try something new. And the process is really difficult. So the question is, how many of you think that you might have some preconceptions about biology, that you might know something or think you know something about biology? Hopefully all of you are thinking, of course, because hopefully all of you have been outside and seen a tree or something else. And we all live with ourselves and we're very much biological. So we have all kinds of ideas, and some of them are right, but some of them are very wrong, and we're going to have to do accommodation. And so the reason I tell you all of this is it will explain why I teach the course the way that I do. Okay, a couple other things I want to show you before we get into that is this. So you can take a minute and try to read that. It says that you're unique if you can read that, but actually it's not true. Most people can read that. And isn't that crazy that you can read that? And then we're going to watch this little video here. This is my son, who's now on a mission. He'd be mortified if he knew I was showing you this video. Oh, I have to preface this. We were reading the Good Samaritan in the scriptures, and I asked him to paraphrase it. And then I was like, oh my goodness, let me get my camera. And I had him paraphrase it again. Okay, so listen.
3 guys wouldn't help him, and when one came, he took the man and put him in his truck and started driving away. And then he woke up in a bed. He was nice and warm, and he had a couple bruises and cuts, and he felt really bad, but he was glad that the man helped him.
Okay, so isn't he cute? What did you notice? Did anybody catch the truck in ancient Israel? Isn't that funny? Why would he put a truck into that story? Well, it turns out that your brains are very, very adept at filling in gaps in your understanding. And sometimes we fill in gaps with total garbage. And that's because we are very uncomfortable with cognitive gaps, cognitive inconsistency. And so our brains will very quickly fill that in. And think about it, back in, like caveman days, if you were wondering, gosh, is that a lion or not? Wasn't it great that your brain just sort of filled in, yep, that's a lion, run? That's kind of, we're programmed to do that. And so as a consequence, while you are learning, if you miss something in class or you didn't quite catch it the first time, and then you're studying later, you may just fill in that hole with garbage, with preconceptions that aren't correct. And so the easiest way to prevent that is, number one, to say things out loud. I know that sounds crazy, but it is so important. Even if you're only talking to the wall, it's really important to say things out loud, because your brain is much more likely to catch where there are gaps in your understanding when you're speaking out loud. When you're just doing it in your head, your brain will gloss right over those gaps. But even more importantly, if you can say it to somebody else, especially somebody else who can correct you, so either a TA or somebody who's been in the class with you, a classmate, that will help you fill in those gaps with correct information. And then the last thing I'll offer you, for studying at least, is to watch my How to Study video that's posted on Canvas. And that'll help you. There's also a study module if you're interested. It's also on Canvas. It's optional. That'll just help you walk through being metacognitive about how you study. Okay, so back to how we learn. Why do I say all this? Well, I use a process called constructivism. It's based on the idea that we learn constructivist. And it's called the 5E learning cycle. And we're going to talk about it in a moment. About course structure, required supplies. There is a student packet. It is available hard copy from the bookstore for purchase or electronically on Canvas. You must bring it to every class. You don't turn it in, but you will need to follow it. And if you want it for the test, you will need to print it out or buy it from the bookstore. The bookstore sells it for the same cost as printing, so it's up to you. But if you want to do it electronically, I'm totally cool with that. I'm just not that technologically advanced, so that seems intimidating to me. But like I said, if you want to take it into the testing center for the tests, you'll want to print it out. And I teach another class in the opposite format as yours that also has a packet that might be useful for when you do homework and just sort of structuring your notes. I'll talk about that in class also. You also need a smart device because you're going to take a quiz at the beginning of each class. So you need your telephone, oh my gosh, I'm so old. Your phone, your iPad, whatever. And then you need a pencil and scratch paper if you need that beyond your packet. The other supply I recommend but don't require is the textbook. I provide you all the information you need for the class, but some people really appreciate it, kind of an alternative perspective or additional information. This is the textbook I sort of follow. And I've got a deal with Pearson that you can get the e-text version for just $10 a month and use the Learn10 promo code and you get an extra 10% off. So it's a pretty good deal. And there's a little video that shows you all the cool things that the e-text can do that I've got on Canvas that I'll show you in a minute. But again, not required. The structure of the course. So in the way that I teach using constructivism, learning takes place in two parts. The first part is content attainment, where you just get the basics down of what we're talking about. The second is concept application. Research has shown that if you only learn the content and you don't apply it, it becomes contextualized, meaning that it only works in the given context that you learned it. So we really need to be able to apply it to see the full depth of what we can do with that information. And I use this 5E learning cycle where we engage and explore some kind of, you build your own understanding, then we explain it, and then we do some elaboration where we apply it. And there's also two ways to do this. So the traditional approach is probably what you're most familiar with, where you come to class, you learn the material, then you go home and do a homework assignment where you apply it. There's also a flipped approach where you learn the material before class, and then in class is when we do the application. I've done research on this extensively, and it turns out in BYU students, these two approaches are pretty much equivalent. So I kind of mix it up depending on what's going on that semester and how I'm teaching it. So your class is actually a flipped class. The other section that I teach is the traditional approach. But the flipped, like I said, they both are awesome. They both work really well. It just kind of flips it up for me, so I'm not teaching the same thing twice in a row. So you're a flipped class. So let me tell you how that works. So before you come to class each day, you're going to do a pre-class assignment where you engage, explore, and explain. It is on Canvas, and I'll show you where in a minute. They are just graded for attempt, right? There's no right or wrong answer. You're just sort of exploring the material. And then you'll come to class and we will use our packet. We will take a quick quiz to make sure you learned what you were supposed to learn. And this quiz, by the way, is supposed to be really, really low stakes, almost no stakes. And so basically you'll come into class and you'll have 2 attempts. The first attempt, I'd like you to take it just cold turkey, see what you learned from the pre-class activity. Then the second attempt, you can talk to your neighbor, you can talk to a TA, you can talk to me, you can look things up on the internet, you can look things up in your class materials. There's no way to cheat on it, right? You just do your very best and you get the higher of the 2 scores, right? So it doesn't hurt you at all to just attempt it first without looking anything up. And then we will spend the class period elaborating, so applying the material in different ways using the packet. And then if you need help, you can go see a TA. So that's basically how the course works. So you'll do that Monday, Wednesday, Friday throughout the rest of the unit. At the end of the unit, we have a science literacy and review day. Those are on the schedule, and I'll show, and you can see them when you look up the schedule. This is when you come in and we will just review all the learning outcomes with a TA and the instructor. I'll be there. There's also a how to study video. I'll show you where that is, and you get ready for the exam. Then you'll go into the testing center, take the exam, open book, open note. Let's say you come out and you get an 87%. Well, I strongly recommend reviewing exams. So as a little incentive to go review the exam, I will give you 5% back. So the TAs will hold review sessions every week that you can go in and see what you did wrong on the exam and get your 5% back. And then voila, you have a 92. Okay. So this is how the class breaks down. The research surveys, there's just a couple of them. They're worth 5% of your grade. Those pre-class assignments that you do are 25% of your grade, and then the quizzes we take in class are 15%. So 45% for just participating in the learning activities I've designed for you. The other 55% is assessments. I also have what I call a life happens cushion. So I realize that life doesn't always go your way. Sometimes life throws you lemons. Sometimes things just don't work out. And so I have built in a cushion for that. So you get to drop 1 research survey, 5 pre-class activities, 5 quizzes, and 1 exam. What does this mean? Well, it means that you don't need to talk to me. Not that I don't want to talk to you. I totally want to talk to you. But like if something happens, you have to go help your mom with something, or you have to go see a wedding of a friend, or don't do that. But let's say you get in a car accident, you get in a bike accident, you sleep in past your alarm, although our class is really late in the day. Whatever it is, you don't have to talk to me. You don't have to even tell me. You just take it as your drop. Canvas will automatically drop it. And this especially goes for exams, right? I realize it's really a bummer to miss an exam and you feel like you need to reach out to me and say, can I make it up? You know what? If you get a 0 on an exam for whatever reason that is, that's your lowest score. It'll drop. So just don't even sweat it. But obviously, if you need exceptions beyond those 5 for extenuating circumstances, please come talk to me, and I'm happy to work with you. All right, so the rest of this video, we're going to visit Canvas. I'm going to show you around. Like I said, I don't use Learning Suite. I use Canvas. The address is byu.instructure.com. I will also put this link on Learning Suite in case you go to the wrong place. Once you're there, you're going to click on your class that shows up. This is what it looks like. So everything you need is here on this site. So this first link here, it is the first link for a reason. It is the most important thing you can download. This is the learning outcomes. It will have detailed points of what you need to be able to do every day of class. Now notice I said not what you need to know, it's what you need to be able to do. And we'll talk more about this in class and when we review them, but this is what you need to know and do. This is what you need to be able to do. This is your study guide for exams. This is everything I will teach you. Instructor information, this is me. It'll tell you when my office hours are, where they are, how to get a hold of me. These are your TA bios and office hours. So I'm going to click on this. This will have biographies of all your TAs. Also, really importantly, every TA, and you can use TAs from either section because we're all teaching the same thing, right? They will each hold a weekly review. So that is a 1 hour a week that they will go through the material we've been learning that week. So if you're ever confused, you can go to one of those. Not required, but there's a lot of them. So feel free to take advantage of those. They will have open office hours. And then they will also hold, once we start taking exams, that exam review. Every week, there will be several to choose from. You can go and get your 5% back. So please take advantage of your TAs. They are here to help you. This is the packet that I told you about. So if you want to use it electronically, you can use it. Or if you want to print it at your own favorite print shop, by all means. This is a reading schedule. If you're going to follow along in the textbook, this is the exam schedule. Get it on your calendar. These are the frequently asked questions. So this is just a list of questions that I've accumulated over the years with answers. So if you're ever wondering something, you could check there before you email. Okay, here is the link that I talked about to purchase the e-text if you would like to, and here's a little video that goes through the e-text features. Here, critical help for success in this course. So this is the video you're watching right now. This is our how to study video. This is just me going through how I would use the learning outcomes to study. And then this is a really great study strategies module that's made by an educational psychologist, wow, that's a mouthful, named Dr. Chu. So it's really, really helpful in learning how to study. Every day of class, my TAs will take a picture of the board. It will be posted here. And if I ever use PowerPoints in class, which I don't do a lot, but sometimes I do, that will be posted here. All right, so before class each day, you will come in and do a pre-class assignment. This right here is the very first thing you're going to do, the pre-LCTSR. It is a required research survey. The LCTSR measures your science IQ, basically, your scientific reasoning ability. It is the #1 predictor of your success in this class. So read this, take this. If you don't do as well as you had hoped, you can go into this optional app that will help you improve your scientific reasoning skills. So just a little help for you to get you started. I need to finish this. Okay, so here are the pre-class activities that you're going to do each day. Notice on the days when the exam starts, when it's a review day, we won't have a pre-class activity. Then when you come into class, you'll scroll down to our in-class quiz. So every day there is an in-class quiz. These first few are practice, quote unquote, and that's because we're waiting for people to have the add drop deadline pass and to get into the class, but it will get you into the right habit, so please do take them. Same thing with the pre-class homework. They will be open until after the add drop deadline, those first few, so people can catch up. So those are the quizzes you'll take each time and final exam. So I think that's about it. Oh, and then the syllabus is right here if you want to run through the syllabus. And it's basically everything I've been talking about here. But if you're interested in the grading scale or some of the policies, those are there. I think that's everything. Super excited to meet all of you. It's going to be a great class.